for those who go through difficult moments. These ladies trusted me in 2011, and they are still my friends today. Thank you and congratulations.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson Caribou.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May 11th to May 17th is National Nursing Week, a week that encompasses International Nurses Day. And this year, of course, it's Florence Nightingale. She was born 195 years ago today. Wow. It's an honour for me to rise in the House to talk about the vital contributions that nurses make in the health and well-being of all Canadians. With more than 408,000 regulated nurses across Canada, from coast to coast to coast, they are by far our largest group of healthcare providers. The Canadian Nurses Association is the national professional voice for registered nurses. Their theme this year for National Nursing Week is Nurses with You Every Step of the Way. This emphasizes how important nurses are in all our lives at every age and in all health situations. In fact, you could say that nurses are the backbone of our healthcare system, providing us with the attention and medical care that we need to live healthy, long-lasting lives. When you are a nurse, you know that every day you will touch a life, or a life will touch you. Thank you to all Canadian nurses.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Mr. Speaker, each of us knows one of those exceptional people who look after the physical, mental, and social health of millions of Canadians. Along with taking care of the least fortunate and most vulnerable members of society, that person works long hours, often in difficult conditions, and sometimes with their own health at risk. This extraordinary person has to constantly change and adapt to new circumstances. He or she is always learning, always ready to face difference, concerns, fear, and even death. This person does a job that is the most respected and appreciated in the world, and it's one of the most rewarding as well. Yep, you guessed it, that person is a nurse. I know all of this very well because I have the great honor myself of being a nurse, and that's why, Mr. Speaker, today, May 12th, on behalf of Canadians from coast to coast, it's my pleasure to say thank you to each and every one of the 300,000 nurses in Canada. Happy Day of the Nurse.
The Honourable Member for Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to rise in the House today to recognize the efforts of A Better World Canada, an international development organization which is headquartered in my hometown of Lacombe, Alberta. Recently celebrating its 25th year, this organization, co-founded by Mr. Eric Raja and Mr. Brian Levitt, has made investments at home and around the world in education, health, water, agriculture, and income generation. A Better World Canada partners with local communities to establish long-term developments of these projects and ensure that they remain viable and stable into the future. A Better World Canada is managed and run by 100% volunteer effort, and 100% of the donations they receive go directly to the projects such as water wells, microbusinesses, education, and healthcare services. Many people who have donated in support of this organization have traveled to see the projects, meet local people, and to experience firsthand the returns on their investment. Because of their compassion, thoughtfulness, vision, and leadership, A Better World Canada has changed the lives and hearts around the globe. They truly have made the world better. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Charlottetown.
Mr. Speaker, on Prince Edward Island, the month of April is devoted to burgers. PEI Burger Love is a month-long celebration of 100% island beef created by Fresh Media and presented in partnership with PEI Cattle Producers, the Department of Agriculture and Forestry, and PEI Flavors. This year, over 60 restaurants competed for the title of Most Loved Burger. Over 140,000 burgers were enjoyed across the island. That's about one burger for every islander. The campaign's economic impact to PEI is approximately $2.6 million. For the 5th year, the team at Fresh Media arranged a Guinness World Record attempt for the most freshly cooked burgers sold in 24 hours. Guinness asked for 5,000. Island restaurants sold just over 9,000. The much-coveted title of Most Loved Burger 2015 belongs to the Home Place Inn and Restaurant in Kensington for their creation, the Cabbage Patch. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the chefs, servers, restaurant owners, local suppliers, beef producers, and the team at Fresh Media for another successful and truly local campaign.
The Honourable Member for Oak Ridges, Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on Saturday I was fortunate enough to be invited to play a guest role in a local theatre production in my hometown of Stouffville. The Stouffville Theatre Company put on a play called P.S. Uncle Angus at our local theatre, 19 on the Park. This was an incredible experience, Mr. Speaker. As a former parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Canadian Heritage, I have a great deal of respect and admiration for the arts, but I can honestly say that until Saturday I did not truly appreciate the unique art of acting. I stand in this place every day to speak, but I must admit I was nervous preparing for this role, Mr. Speaker, and it was only one line. But, Mr. Speaker, this House should recognize the incredible importance of arts, not only to Canadian culture, but to our economy. It is not only the actors that benefit from investments in our arts, but stagehands, lighting and sound technicians, and countless other trades. It is an honour today to thank the Stouffville Theatre Company, as well as other local theatre companies across Canada, for the great work they do to raise awareness of the arts and communities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Victoria.
Each year, more and more Canadians are turning to naturopathic doctors to help with their everyday health care needs. By treating the whole person and focusing on the root cause of an illness, naturopathic doctors are able to help patients in both the immediate and long term.
Today, Canadians want to be better informed of their healthcare options and how they can adopt a more proactive approach to meet their healthcare needs.
This should be applauded and further encouraged with greater tools and resources. That is why I encourage Canadians this week to take part in Naturopathic Medicine Week.
Naturopathic doctors from across Canada are there to inform members of their communities about the benefits of a healthy life and naturopathy.
Information on the Canadian Association of Naturopathic Doctors website or by visiting their community naturopathic doctor. Mr. Speaker, our party recognizes Naturopathic Medicine Week and the many benefits naturopathic medicine provides to Canadians.
The honourable member for Mississauga Streetsville.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in the House today to pay tribute to Fran Ryder, who has been inducted into the International Ice Hockey Hall of Fame. She is the first person to be inducted as a builder specifically for her contribution to women's hockey. Without Fran, women's hockey would not be a medal event at the Olympics, and there would be no Women's World Championships. Fran established the Ontario Women's Hockey Association, headquartered in Mississauga in 1975, and became its first executive director. Former Mississauga Mayor Hazel McCallion stated, and I quote, "In my opinion, she has really put women's hockey on the map. She is the dynamic leader in women's hockey, committed with a passion." Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that all members of this House join me in congratulating Fran and the women's hockey movement in Canada for this very prestigious award and wish for the growth and success of women's hockey in Canada for many years to come.
Honourable member for Wild Rose.
Mr. Speaker, as Chair of the Parliamentary Tourism Caucus, it's my pleasure to inform this House that citizens from coast to coast to coast will celebrate Canadian Camping Week, May 19th to 24th. Last year, more than 5.7 million Canadians trekked to the great outdoors to get in touch with nature, to reconnect with family, and to spend some quality time together. Getting out and enjoying our nation's natural heritage is a key part of our Canadian identity. Today, our country is home to more than 4,200 campgrounds, and while the camping industry employs more than 60,000 people and contributes $4.7 billion to Canada's economy. One of our government's major goals under the new National Conservation Plan is to help better connect Canadians with nature. We believe that most Canadians have a deep and abiding respect for our land, our air, and our water, and these are values that we've learned from our parents and pass on to our children. Encouraging a deeper personal connection between Canadians and nature will only strengthen these bonds, Mr. Speaker. As the MP for one of Canada's most beautiful and popular national parks, I always look forward to enjoying more time in the great outdoors, and I feel fortunate to live.
The honourable member for Surrey North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gang violence in Surrey has reached crisis levels. Every day we wake up to read about yet another shooting or stabbing on the news. Within the last 2 months alone, we've seen an alarming number of 27 shootings. My constituents are worried for their safety and the safety of their families. That is why I've introduced a motion, M407, which calls on the government to provide stable, long-term funding for youth gang prevention and intervention programs. Surrey needs more resources to deal with the escalating gang violence, including more RCMP officers and youth gang prevention programs. Mr. Speaker, we need all three levels of government to work together to keep our cities city streets safe. Yet this government will not commit to take action on this issue. It is simply unacceptable that today in Canada there are communities where parents are scared to let their children play outside in case of a lone bullet. My community needs urgent action now, Mr. Speaker. What will it take for this government to make public safety a priority?
The honourable member for Glengarry, Prescott, Russell.
Mr. Speaker, our government recognizes its obligation to our armed forces members, veterans, and their families, and is determined to enact and implement key measures contained in the Support for Veterans and Their Families Act as soon as possible. The Minister of Veterans Affairs has made a commitment to veterans that these initiatives, benefits recommended in an all-party report from the Veterans Affairs Committee, would pass through the House before the end of the session. To fulfill our obligation, we have included these new benefits in the Budget Implementation Act to ensure that they pass and can be implemented soonest. The veterans' measures are being sent to the Veterans Committee for study. Unfortunately, the opposition is now playing games with our armed forces members, veterans, and their families regarding these new benefits. Veterans are watching closely, Mr. Speaker, and they want to know if the Liberals and the NDP will vote in favour of these key new initiatives as contained in the Budget Implementation Act, initiatives which will benefit our serving members, veterans, and their families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Timmins, James Bay.
Mr. Speaker, in 1928, a fire broke out at the 500-foot level at the Hollinger Gold Mine in Timmins, but the closest train crew was over 1,000 kilometers away in Pennsylvania. That crew boarded a special train that broke speed records heading north through a brutal blizzard, but by the time they got there, it was too late, and 39 men were dead. Out of that tragedy, Ontario established the first mine rescue office in Timmins, and today we have teams that are among the best in the world. I want to thank those brave volunteers who keep our workers safe. The crews who dealt with the McIntyre fire, the 84 rock burst at Falconbridge, the 93 Macassa disaster, and congratulations in particular to the teams who competed in the North recently, including winners, Team Dumas and Timmins, Team Marico, Kirkland Lake, Team Valley West, and Team Glencore and Sudbury. They remind us that the greatest wealth that ever came out of a mine were the miners coming home at the end of their shift.
The honourable member for Ancaster, Dundas, Flamborough, Western.
Mr. Speaker, my Conservative colleagues and I, and frankly the vast majority of Canadians, know that moms and dads, not government bureaucrats, should be the ones making important decisions that affect their children. That's why our new family tax cut and enhanced universal childcare benefit will give 100% of families with kids an average of nearly $2,000 per child. That's nearly $12,000 over a child's first 6 years. What do we hear from the leader of the Liberal Party, Mr. Speaker? He wants to take away the universal child care benefit, family tax cut, income splitting, and the TFSA. He will raise taxes on the middle class, raise taxes on small businesses, and raise taxes on seniors. Mr. Speaker, it is impossible to comprehend any coherence in the Liberal leader's strategy. As such, we won't let it happen.
The honourable member for Vancouver Centre.
Mr. Speaker, today marks the birth of Florence Nightingale, the famous lady with the lamp in the Crimea War, where the formal profession of nursing began. Throughout her life, Florence Nightingale served those in need, from battlefields to hospitals. Nurses continue this legacy every day as they serve Canadians in hospital, at home, and in war. Today's nurses are no longer viewed simply as angels of mercy. They are highly trained healthcare professionals who play an integral role in our healthcare system, expanding the scope of their practice to often being the sole deliverers of care in isolated areas of Canada. They are also vocal advocates for timely access to quality care for their patients. This is Nurses Week. The Canadian Nurses Association theme is Nurses with you every step of the way. Indeed, there is no more fitting description for the work that nurses do for their patients. This is a week to celebrate the registered nurses, registered practical nurses, and nurse practitioners. I ask this House to give a round of applause to thank these dedicated men and women for their care in our time of need.
The honourable member for Don Valley West.
Mr. Speaker, it should come as no surprise that our Conservative government is the only one that stands up for middle-class Canadian families. We've doubled the Children's Fitness Tax Credit, enhanced the universal child care benefit, and now have implemented the family tax cut. All families with children, including single-parent families, will benefit from our family tax cut and enhanced universal child care benefit. That's over 4 million families, Mr. Speaker, and over 7 million parents. The Liberal leader has admitted that he will take away the universal child care benefit, he'll take away income splitting, and he'll take away the tax-free savings account. Only one thing is absolutely certain. Our Conservative government is the only one that stands for and with hard-working Canadian families.
The Honourable Member for Pontiac. The Conservatives came to power with a promise to clean up Liberal patronage and corruption. But our Constitution is crystal clear. Senators must be residents of the province they represent. But it's clear that senators named by this Prime Minister, Wallen, Duffy, Stewart-Olson, they're not. We have asked many times over the last few weeks how the Prime Minister can justify these appointments. The question is very simple, and it's not before the courts. This is one of the first responsibilities of a Prime Minister. Instead of answers, Canadians are only getting ridiculous, evasive statements from this government.
We have a Prime Minister who hides from the truth, and his Parliamentary Secretary who refuses to answer even the simplest of questions. Conservatives are showing their disrespect for this House and for Canadians. In the next election, Canadians, just like the people of Alberta, will have an opportunity to vote for the change they want, and they will actually get it.
The Honourable Member for Lotbinière, Chute de la Chaudière. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal leader has pledged to remove our family tax cut and replace it with his family tax hike, which would make life more difficult for middle-class families. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal plan for the middle class is all wrong. The Liberal leader would take away the universal child care benefit. The Liberal leader would take away income splitting. The Liberal leader would take away the tax-free savings account. It's very clear, Mr. Speaker, middle-class families and seniors will reject the plan from the Liberal leader. They will reject his tax hikes.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, according to RCMP documents tabled in court, we now know that staff from the Prime Minister's office ordered Conservative senators to whitewash the audit report on Mike Duffy's expenses. The staff involved the Prime Minister's former Chief of Staff, Nigel Wright, and his current Chief of Staff, Ray Novak. Did the Prime Minister know that his staff, including his two former Chiefs of Staff, falsified a Senate audit report?
Obviously, well, I don't accept the premise of that question. He knows full well that he is trying to get me to comment on selectively on matters that are before the court. It is Mr. Duffy's actions that are before the court. The government has provided all information to the RCMP. It has been assisting the Crown and will continue to do so, and the court will take a specific.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
What's before the court is the RCMP document I just read from. One of the Conservative senators involved in the cover-up was the Prime Minister's close personal confidant, Carolyn Stewart-Olson. The director of the Senate audit said Stewart-Olson's goal, quote, was not to get to the truth. Like Mike Duffy, Stewart-Olson was living in Ottawa, but was named by the Prime Minister to represent Atlantic Canada. Like Mike Duffy, she still claimed expenses for her Ottawa home. Is that why the Prime Minister's office went to Stewart-Olson to help with the cover-up? Because they knew her expenses were just as fishy as Mike Duffy's.
The leader of the NDP makes a number of assertions that I simply don't agree with, but the fact of the matter is, it's Mr. Duffy's actions that are before the court, in particular his use of public funds. Mr. Speaker will provide all information. The court will continue to work with the Crown, and the courts will arrive at their own decision on the appropriate of Mr. Duffy's actions.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The courts in the case of Mike Duffy and not in the case of his confidant, Carolyn Stewart-Olson. That's the question.
On April 22nd, the Prime Minister said here in the House that he knew Mike Duffy was a resident of PEI before he appointed him to the Senate. And why? Because according to the Prime Minister, on that day, Mike Duffy signed a written statement confirming that he was a resident of PEI. Is the Prime Minister willing to show that statement to Canadians? Where is the statement that Duffy allegedly signed before being sworn in to the Senate? because Canadians might be tempted to think that the Prime Minister didn't tell the truth. The government followed constitutional practice that has been around for about 150 years. It's the actions of Mr. Duffy that are before the courts. And the courts will make their own decision. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. We're not talking about 150 years ago. We're talking about what he himself said here on April 22nd.
Feeding at the trough in the Senate, this Conservative government is sitting idly by, watching good middle-class jobs disappear. 20,000 jobs lost in April alone. Rio Tinto is now completing the makeover after its takeover of Canadian aluminum giant Alcan by laying off hundreds of employees and stripping the Alcan name off the building. Why did the Prime Minister approve selling off a major Canadian company with no guarantee to protect Canadian jobs?
We never like a situation where a Canadian loses his or her job. The reality, Mr. Speaker, is there are 1.2 million more Canadians working today than at the time of the recession. I remember, Mr. Speaker, the positive reception that the government's economic action plan continues to have from experts and from job creators across the country, Canadian Federation of Independent Business, Canadian Chamber of Commerce, Canadian Exporters and Manufacturers, among others. And I would call for the NDP to abandon its high tax, high debt agenda and get with a program that's low tax and creates jobs.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. 250,000 more Canadians unemployed today than when the crisis hit in 2008. That's the reality, Mr. Speaker.
When Rio Tinto took over Alcan in 2007, Jack Layton asked the Prime Minister 9 times to ensure that Canadian jobs would be protected. Rio Tinto got the green light from Minister Jim Prentice under the Investment Canada Act after he was satisfied that the takeover would procure a net benefit to Canada. Where is that net benefit for the hundreds of Alcan employees who've been laid off today? What does the Prime Minister intend to do to save those jobs? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, under our Economic Action Plan, more than 1.2 million Canadians are working now than before. That's one of the best job creation records in the world, supported by all experts. Experts recognize that the NDP plan would hike taxes, increase debt, and so on, and these would be detrimental to jobs in Canada. We are going to continue creating jobs, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, in 2006, the Prime Minister started giving thousands of dollars in benefits to wealthy families like his and mine. Now, 10 years later, he's giving them another $2,000 tax break and thousands more every year. Fairness means helping those who need help the most. So why not cancel those tax breaks and benefits that go to the wealthiest Canadians?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government's record of tax reduction has helped every single Canadian family in this country. The leader of the Liberal Party proposes is to take away from every Canadian family the universal child care benefit, to take away income splitting, to take away tax-free savings accounts, to take away all of these things from middle-class seniors, from middle-class families. And even after he takes all those things away, his numbers still don't add up. Mr. Speaker, we're going to fight to keep taxes down and keep those benefits for Canadians.
Mr. Speaker, benefiting every single family isn't what is fair. What is fair is giving help to those who need it the most. A $2 billion tax break that favors the wealthiest families. A higher tax-free savings limit for the wealthy. Thousands more in benefits for those who need help the least. That's the Prime Minister's plan. Our plan offers thousands of dollars more every year, tax-free, to those who need it the most. Why didn't he instead use every nickel to help the middle class and those seeking to join it?
Order the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, you see what happens when someone goes off script. The government's plan is to make life better for every single Canadian family. And raising taxes on some families, that their intention is to do it on every family, and we're not going to let that happen.
Order! Order! Order. L'honorable député de Papineau.
The honourable member for Papineau.
10 years, this Prime Minister doesn't understand that it's not the wealthiest families in this country that need the help is a really important message that he's passed today. Depuis près de 10 ans.
For almost 10 years, the Conservative government has been offering one choice after another to help out the wealthiest Canadian families. $2 billion in a tax break for income splitting. He also doubled the TFSA contribution limit. How long will it take before there's help for those who need it the most, the middle class, and those working hard to join it? Not the wealthiest few. Right Honourable Prime Minister. The Liberal leader would get rid of the universal child care benefit and income splitting for seniors and families. He would scrap TFSAs, and even after that, his numbers don't add up.
Many years as politics is that governments either make things good for everybody or they make things worse for everybody. We're determined to make things good for everybody.
The honourable member for Beauharnois-Salaberry.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, Rio Tinto Alcan has just announced that they're going to cut around 170 jobs at corporate headquarters in Montreal. In addition to this sad news, the company announced it will be phasing out the name Alcan after 90 years of industrial history in Quebec and Canada. Despite the Conservatives' promises, they're incapable of keeping high-quality jobs here in Canada. What's the Conservative government waiting for? Why don't they come up with a policy that will promote job creation for Quebec families? The Honourable Minister of State.
Mr. Speaker, let me make it very clear that when a Canadian company changes hands, that's not the preferred approach. However, I will remind this member that we have created 1.2 million net new jobs since the recession, and that confirms that Canada's economic action plan is absolutely working.
The honourable member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, of course, it's never the Conservatives' fault, even though in April alone, 20,000 good jobs were lost in Canada. Alcan was one of the jewels of Quebec's industry, and now there's virtually nothing left of it, even its name after 90 years of history. By allowing takeovers by foreign conglomerates, we run the risk of losing our knowledge and expertise and jobs along with it. Is the government going to do something to prevent other job losses, other good jobs, other jewels of our industrial history from being lost? Are they going to act, or are they just going to sit on their hands? The Honourable Minister of State.
Mr. Speaker, once again, I'm pleased to tell you that both the IMF and the OECD are projecting that Canada is going to have the strongest economic growth in the G7 in the years ahead. And in fact, for the 7th straight year, the World Economic Forum has ranked Canada's banking system the strongest, and our real GDP is now significantly up pre-recession levels. That means jobs for Canada, permanent jobs that are going to affect in a positive way our country.
Honourable member for Parkdale High Park.
Well, let's try again. Rio Tinto is cutting up to 170 jobs in Montreal and scrapping the Alcan name. Another foreign takeover rubber-stamped by the Conservatives, where workers are left to pay the price. Liberal and Conservative governments have rubber-stamped thousands of foreign takeovers without securing protections for Canadian workers. So why are the Conservatives always so quick at selling out Canadian communities to foreign interests and so slow to help the workers impacted by the takeovers?
The Honourable Minister of State.
Mr. Speaker, any time that a worker loses their job, that impacts their families, and we have great empathy for those people. Let me say, as it relates to this firm, but I will also say for firms right across the country, foreign direct investment is up by more than 50% across all industries, and what's incredibly important is that we've created 1 million net new jobs since the recession. That is a job creation plan that can never be matched by the opposition.
The Honourable Member for Parkdale High Park.
Well, clearly, too many workers have learned the hard way that you can't trust Liberals or Conservatives when it comes to foreign takeover. Mr. Speaker, thousands of families are feeling the effects of Conservative mismanagement of the economy. We've lost nearly 42,000 jobs in Ontario in just the last 6 months. In Toronto alone, we've lost 8,800 jobs in the last year. So the question is, why are the Conservatives giving handouts to the wealthy when these are the families that need help getting back on their feet?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Speaker, the last thing these families need are big tax increases from the NDP and Liberals, and that's all they would get from those parties. Our plan is trade, training, and tax cuts. Trade, training, and tax cuts are working, Mr. Speaker. We signed free trade with the European Union, which will deliver 80,000 net new jobs, including for Honda Canada, which announced recently in the presence of the Prime Minister that it will export vehicles directly to Europe from Canada, creating 400 net new jobs in that one plant alone, Mr. Speaker. Canadians want open trade, low taxes, and more training, and that's what they're getting from our government.
The Honourable Member for London Fanshawe.
Well, speaking of taxes, last night all members of this House voted unanimously in favour of the NDP's motion to end the discriminatory federal sales tax on feminine hygiene products. Everyone in this House agrees that this $36 million tax grab on women is unfair. I'm very grateful that there is unanimous agreement that we need change. Now the Conservatives need to put that commitment into action. Will the Conservatives work with the NDP to amend the budget bill to end this unfair tax?
The Honourable Minister of Labour.
Well, Mr. Speaker, our Conservative government has been very focused over the last 9 years lowering taxes, unlike the opposition that would like to raise one's taxes. And as a result of this, for the first time in 50 years, we have the lowest tax burden on Canadians. In fact, this year, Canadians will put $6,600 more back in their pockets because we've lowered taxes. Unlike the opposition, we're not going to raise Canadians' taxes. We're going to put the money back in the pockets of parents and families.
The Honourable Member for Argenteuil-Papineau-Mirabel. Why not put an end to this unfair tax immediately? Every year, women pay $36 million in tax when they buy feminine hygiene products. The Conservatives supported the NDP motion, which was a major victory scored by the NDP. The Conservatives must now keep their promise. Will their budget bill include provisions to eliminate the unfair tax on feminine hygiene products? The Honourable Minister.
Our government supported the motion, and we have been the government that lowered the GST from 7 to 6 to 5%, lowering taxes on Canadians, something the opposition voted against. In fact, this government has lowered taxes over 160 times since we've been put in office, things that the opposition, again, have voted against. They vote and make sure they're raising taxes. We are on the side of lowering taxes on all Canadian families so they can put money back in their own pockets.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Now the Conservatives have to walk the talk. The Labour Minister wrongly asserted that the Intern Association supported the rules in Bill C-59 to govern unpaid internships under federal jurisdiction. The president of the association actually said in an open letter that C-59 would make interns vulnerable to exploitation. Will the Conservatives take up the NDP proposals to give genuine protection to unpaid interns rather than half measures?
opposition has read the bill, then they would know that we are actually taking and amending the Canada Labour Code to ensure that interns under federal jurisdiction, regardless of pay, will receive health and occupational safety coverage. That's what we are actually doing. We're taking action to make sure that young Canadians and those that have internships are protected on the job, unlike the opposition that would vote against that budget and not allow that to occur.
The honourable member for Devon.
I don't know, Mr. Speaker. Canadians are getting whiplash trying to follow this minister on this issue. You know, yesterday she claimed she had the support of the Canadian Intern Association, and today they write a blistering op-ed saying that this budget bill, quote, is bad news for interns. Instead of protecting interns, they've actually opened the door to more exploitation. They've even excluded unpaid interns from protections against sexual harassment in the workplace. I mean, come on now, the minister keeps saying she really cares about unpaid interns. Well, if that's the case, why won't she walk that talk and fix this bill?
Mr. Speaker, as I just said, and I encourage the members opposite to please read the bill. We are amending the Canada Labour Code to make sure that occupational health and safety is covered under the Budget Implementation Act. I would be happy to walk the members through those changes so that they understand exactly what we're doing. We're out protecting interns in the workplace.
The honourable member for Skeena-Buck-Ruval.
This government is increasingly patronizing and incompetent towards young people. How did that work for you in Alberta? The fact is, young people are hurting under this government's watch. The fact is, more than 13,000 youth jobs disappeared just last month. The fact is, they will be joining the almost 400,000 young Canadians now out of work, and it's a fact that these young people are caught between an atrocious job market and conservative policies that fail to create jobs. With so many Canadians struggling to get a good start on their working lives, why are Conservatives continuing to hand out billions of dollars to the wealthy and well-connected while turning their backs on our youth?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
The NDP and Liberals only have one plan for youth, and that is to raise taxes on young people. Our approach is trade, training, and tax cuts for our youth. For youth like Avalon, who always loved cars and wanted to be an automotive service technician. However, she worried that she wouldn't be able to pay for her apprenticeship. Happily, she secured the Canada Apprenticeship Grant, and with it she was able to afford the tuition and tools, and now she has been able to certify herself as an auto service technician. And Mr. Speaker, she's very happy to say that she was able to get through it without a bunch of debt, and now she looks forward to a bright future in a high-demand trade.
The honourable member for York West.
Mr. Speaker, the Jane Finch Community and Family Centre, RGD design, and 24 other projects failed to qualify for Canada Summer Jobs funding in my riding this year. The reason? There wasn't enough money. But just one taxpayer-funded Conservative ad at $100 grand could have paid for all of these projects and much more. These groups aren't asking for $100,000. All they're asking is for $11 an hour to hire a student. Why won't the government just admit that funding phony ads is more important to them than creating summer jobs?
The Honourable Minister of Employment.
Mr. Speaker, the basis of the question is false. We have maintained the Canada Summer Job budget. The only plan, though, that the Liberals and NDP have for young people is to raise taxes on our youth. Mr. Speaker, our approach is the opposite. We believe in lowering taxes. We started by taking the Liberal tax. We eliminated the Liberal tax on tuition. We brought in the textbook tax credit. We've lowered payroll taxes so students who work jobs can keep more of what they earn, Mr. Speaker. And, of course, by lowering taxes for small business, which her leader opposes, we have given a boost to those who are most likely to hire our young people, Canada's entrepreneurs.
The honourable member for Trinity Spadina.
Mr. Speaker, getting rid of jobs is not a tax cut, it's a job loss. But 10 days ago, I was in Saint-Pierre-Joli, and I was talking to the mayor there. Her town has an opportunity to add 300 new homes to the community. But new federal water standards mean that she has to change the configuration of her water plant. But to add those homes, she also has to build a new and bigger one. But she's not getting any help from the infrastructure program, not a dollar in this budget. This town cannot do it alone. Building that water plant will not only create jobs building a water plant, but the 300 homes will also create new jobs in this town in Manitoba. Why isn't there one single new dollar for new water plants in the infrastructure budget this year?
The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, that's again wrong. We have had for transit $750 million, which will become $1 billion a year only for transit. And we have announced last year a 10-year plan. We will not re-announce that every year. Probably the Liberals will do that. But we announced that last year, and we will deliver it on the next 10 years, and we will do our job, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Trinity East Edina.
Mr. Speaker, we're talking about water. You may want to flush those talking points down the train. This budget is only balanced because the Conservative government is not spending money this year. But the other problem is that when they do somehow promise to spend money, there's no actual way to apply for the funds. There are no rules in place. This government is literally making it up as it goes along. On housing, they promise to let operators renegotiate cheaper mortgages. But CMHC has no idea what this actually means for the operating agreements which are critical to affordable housing. So a simple question. If the providers renegotiate their mortgages, do their operating agreements continue, or will the subsidies disappear? Yes or no? A simple question.
Yes. The Minister of State for Social Development.
Very happy to explain to that member. When the mortgage is paid, the mortgage ends. You stop paying the bank for mortgage payments. So we have listened to co-op and non-profit providers. They've asked that we give them this ability. We announced $150 million. They're thrilled about it. We're excited because they can keep providing housing, and we can help, Mr. Speaker, by keeping taxes low, supporting those who are vulnerable, and working with provinces on housing needs.
The Honourable Member for Churchill.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, the RCMP has just apologized for having compared the Idle No More movement to bacteria. On Friday, I asked the government to do the same, but the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Public Safety described my request as abhorrent. Does the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs agree with her, or will he apologize to this House to denounce these discriminatory remarks? Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the member is correct. The RCMP did apologize for that comment. But as I stated last week, I would like to point out that on this side of the House, we have actually support our law enforcement in Canada. We've provided law enforcement, our national security agencies, with the tools that they need, whether it be legislative, whether it be funding. And we also, on this side of the House, support preventative measures for crime as well. I wish just for once that the NDP would stand up and support any of those measures.
Mr. Speaker, the question is asking the government to clear its own record from last Friday, which they haven't done. The RCMP admitted that their comments were, as they call them, unfortunate and that they don't represent the views of their organization. But this government, yet again, has doubled down, describing it as, quote, absolutely abhorrent that anyone would even ask for an apology on this kind of discriminatory language. So I'm asking the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, will he stand with the RCMP, apologize, and make it clear that this kind of discriminatory language towards First Nations is unacceptable?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I just said, and the member mentioned that the RCMP did apologize for that comment. But once again, every single measure that we've brought forward in this House to support our law enforcement, whether it be RCMP or national securities, have been obstructed or voted against by that opposition member and the NDP. So just once, I would like that member to stand up and actually support our law enforcement as opposed to some of the stuff that they say about our security agencies in this country.
Honourable Member for Châteauguay-Saint-Constant. We have a social covenant with our armed forces, Mr. Speaker. They offer to fight for us, to defend us, and to defend our values. And in exchange, the government offers them benefits, care, and services during and after their service. And yet the Conservative government has no problem challenging these obligations before the courts and closing down service centres. This is simply unworthy of this government, Mr. Speaker. Will the Conservatives support our motion? And if so, will they finally assume all their obligations towards our veterans? Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As that member knows, we'll be supporting the motion later today. And in fact, the obligation statement we've made through Bill C-58, now in the Budget Implementation Act, goes much further than that motion. It applies to all veterans and talks about the obligation we have, and goes further and says that it must be liberally construed. More importantly are the benefits in that bill that will help veterans at 65 with the retirement income security benefit, the critical injury benefit, the family caregiver relief benefit. These are all new benefits and programs. It's enough time posturing. The NDP needs to get behind it.
Honourable member for New Westminster.
A moral, social, legal and fiduciary covenant exists between Canada and members of the Canadian Armed Forces. This means the government must provide support to those who are injured, disabled, or have died as a result of military service, and to their families. I thank them for supporting our motion. Now, will they implement it? Will the Conservatives agree to a standalone covenant and immediately end all legal action against Canada's veterans?
Mr. Speaker, as that member well knows, we introduced legislation with the most comprehensive set of reforms and benefits for military veterans and their families since the creation of the new Veterans Charter. For 6 weeks, the NDP and the Liberal Party made no comment on this legislation and the benefits in it. In fact, it contains an obligation statement that calls on the language used by Robert Borden in this place almost a century ago, Mr. Speaker. We have shown there's an obligation. It's now and in the future. It's time for them to get behind these reforms and support the Budget Implementation Act.
Honourable member for Mississauga South.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of all Canadians, we are delighted that on May 2nd, Their Royal Highnesses the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge welcomed the birth of their second child, Her Royal Highness Prince Charlotte Elizabeth Diana of Cambridge. Can the Minister of State for Social Development please tell this House how the Government of Canada is marking this wonderful occasion?
Brilliant. The Honourable Minister of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, to mark the exciting birth of Princess Charlotte, we're thrilled to announce that the Government of Canada will be donating $100,000 to the organization Immunize Canada to help promote the use of life-saving vaccinations across the country. Mr. Speaker, the royal family has always been engaged when it comes to the health and well-being of Canadian children, so this is a very fitting gift for to honor the princess. We're also giving the princess a Canadian-made snowsuit as well in honor of us being a northern country. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of all Canadians, I want to wish and congratulate the royal family on the birth of Princess Charlotte. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for the Musqueam-Jet and Musquatali Basque. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative record on international trade simply does not measure up to their empty boasts. A year ago, the Conservatives announced with great fanfare that they had finalized the Canada-EU Free Trade Agreement. They said that there were just a few more details to iron out. Today, more and more European governments are hinting that they may not ratify this agreement. Will the minister finally tell us the truth and set the record straight on this long-awaited agreement? The Honourable Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can confirm that steps are being taken to bring this agreement into force. I recently spoke to the European Union's Commissioner of Trade, Cecilia Malmström, who actually confirmed that, in fact, they consider the deal done. We know that the Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, has said that this deal is done. We've got our nose to the grindstone. We are committed to bringing this agreement into force. I wish the opposition parties would get behind it and do something for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, the minister should talk to Hungary and Greece, who both just said they wouldn't ratify the deal. The minister's rhetoric doesn't match the facts. According to the World Economic Forum's 2014 rankings of 138 countries, Canada is 48th in predictability of import procedures, 95th in cost of imports, and 97th in tariff complexity, and we slipped from 15th to 23rd in exports to our important Asian markets. That's the real Conservative poor record on trade. Now, the minister won't even give Canadians a straight answer on whether or not the Chinese are seeking a trade agreement with Canada. So I'm asking him here, did China offer Canada an opportunity to open bilateral trade negotiations, as the Asia-Pacific Foundation of Canada has publicly stated, or not?
Excellent. The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we've made it clear to China that before moving forward with free trade negotiations, we expect to see more balance in our trading relationship. And there's plenty that our government has already done in that regard. We've secured preferred destination status for tourists. We've negotiated a 10-year multiple entry visa, and we've launched North America's first renminbi trading hub. On top of that, it was this government that brought the China-Canada Foreign Investment Promotion and Protection Agreement in force, which the NDP voted against. Mr. Speaker, they have absolutely no credibility on trade.
Beaches, East York.
Mr. Speaker, a new report reveals the devastating effect that years of Liberal and Conservative inaction have had on families in Toronto. Fewer than 1 in 5 children have access to licensed childcare space. Those that do are currently paying up to $20,000 per child per year. Mr. Speaker, too many families are being kept in a cycle of poverty and unemployment because of the failings of successive Liberal and Conservative governments. Why won't this government break that cycle and adopt our NDP plan for affordable childcare?
The Honourable Minister of State for Social Development.
That member is wrong. It's actually our policies like the universal childcare benefit that has helped lift 80,000 plus children out of poverty during some of the most difficult times. That's where we've expanded it and increased it. Mr. Speaker, we believe that not only is it a great tool to help lower and middle income families, but it gives all families support across this country. We believe that whatever the choice is in childcare that a family decides on, they deserve support, whether in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Winnipeg, right across this country. Every family deserves support for their childcare choices.
Member for Newton, North Delta.
80% of children don't have a space, and that government is congratulating themselves for a job well done. Across the country, childcare is the single largest expense families face, more than food, clothing or a mortgage, Mr. Speaker. Yet the Conservatives and the Liberals have offered plans that won't create a single new affordable childcare space. Canadian parents are desperate for help. Why are Conservatives giving tax breaks to the wealthy few instead of helping parents by investing in affordable childcare?
Mr. Speaker, we're helping all families by increasing the benefit of the universal childcare benefit and the family tax cut. Mr. Speaker, what the opposition have to offer is tax increases, removals of programs like the universal childcare benefit and the family tax cut, income splitting for seniors, for families. They want to increase taxes on every sector of our economy. Mr. Speaker, how will that help families who are in need? It won't help them. We know what families have come to count on under this Prime Minister, under this government. It's low taxes, it's money in their pocket.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, the Haitian community has been very concerned since the Conservative government lifted the moratorium on deportations to Haiti and Zimbabwe of over 3,500 people. Many of these people have been in the country for over 10 years, and they wonder if they will be expelled from Canada. Imagine, Mr. Speaker, the minister gave them until June 1st, to obtain their legal status, but only 20 of those concerned have done so, despite the fact that the Quebec government has awarded them resources to do so. Will the minister agree to the Quebec Minister of Immigration's request for a 3-month extension? Honourable Minister of Immigration. Mr. Speaker, these temporary measures have been in place for 10 years, thanks to the most generous immigration system in the world. It is not a surprise either for Haitians or others that these measures should come to an end, because we said on December 1st, and I met with Minister Whale in Quebec. I met with the communities in Montreal on 3 occasions, and yes, let us be clear, all Haitians will have the opportunity to submit an application for permanent residency for humanitarian reasons until May 31st, Mr. Speaker. And if the Minister Whale wants to open other avenues to permanent residency, she has the Quebec programs at her disposal.
Mr. Speaker, Conservatives are bypassing their own accountability legislation. C-59 creates a new developing financing institution within Export Development Canada. It will not be covered by the government's own Official Development Assistance Accountability Act. There are no guarantees the funds will be used for poverty reduction. Why are the Conservatives bypassing their own accountability law? Is the DFI about poverty reduction or about advancing commercial interests abroad?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Well, Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to promoting both Canada's economic interests around the world, as well as supporting countries that need our help through development assistance and humanitarian aid. We're very proud of the work that EDC does in supporting Canadian companies as they look for new opportunities around the world. But we're also very proud of our record of delivering achievements on the development assistance front. We're very pleased that it was this government that introduced the policy, the initiative on maternal, newborn, child, and maternal health. This is something that's been embraced by countries around the world, billions of dollars of investments, helping countries around the world improve their health outcomes.
The Honourable Member for Stormont, London Future.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives like to talk tough on crime, but the reality is that their cuts to rehabilitation programs are actually putting communities at risk.
That's right.
Volunteers who've helped with programs like Circles of Support and Accountability to ensure that offenders are safely reintegrated are raising the alarm as their funding disappears. These are exactly the same concerns about inadequate offender rehabilitation that were raised by the Auditor General in his spring report.
Yep.
Why are the Conservatives putting public safety at risk by cutting these reintegration programs?
Hear, hear, hear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Of course, our government believes that dangerous sex offenders belong behind bars. That is why we've put forward a number of important measures to ensure our streets and communities are safe for children, such as establishing the high-risk child sex offender database and cracking down on convicted sex offenders who seek to travel. Unfortunately, the opposition has voted against all of these. Just to let the member know, Circles of Support will continue to receive funding up to $350,000 to fund their support for offenders that are within their warrant expiry date.
The Honourable Member for Alfred Pellant. The reality, Mr. Speaker, is that the Conservatives have no problem cutting social reintegration programs that reduce the number of offenders in our communities. These are programs that are offered to over 2,600 inmates that will be cut, many of them in the Greater Montreal region. The Conservatives claim to be the champions of cracking down on crime, so can the Minister explain why he has no problem releasing offenders who may reoffend because they have no supervision?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just did speak a moment ago of Circles of Support, but I also want to point out that actually the Commissioner of Correctional Service of Canada actually said that 95% of inmates who are released have completed their national recognized programs in relation to the correctional plan. So while the opposition continues to make these allegations, the reality is that inmates are receiving that. It's a fact. I just wish for once that the opposition would actually stand up and support the victims of crime instead of those that are actually behind the bars.
The Honourable Member for Desnette, Mississippi Churchill River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituents are concerned about violent crime. They know that the first duty of any government is to protect Canadians from dangerous and violent criminals, particularly those in gangs. That is why we're pleased that our Conservative government has passed over 30 measures to get tough on crime.
Hear, hear.
Shockingly, most of these were obstructed and opposed by the Liberal leader. Their leader even said that they would repeal all mandatory prison sentences in the criminal code. Could the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety update this House with the actions this government is taking to address these serious issues?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Of course not, Mr. Speaker. That position is absolutely ridiculous. But it is not only our government who says so. And if you can listen to this quote, "There is a place for mandatory minimums, particularly for violent crimes," end of quote. Mr. Speaker, do you know who said that? Why, none other than Liberal candidate Bill Blair, who also supports mandatory minimums for gun crimes in principle. While the Liberals debate whether or not dangerous and violent criminals belong behind bars, on this side of the House, our Conservative government will continue to keep Canadians safe.
Honourable Member for Cape Breton, Canso.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are once again using the omnibus budget bill to bypass and weaken the rules of collective bargaining in the public service. And despite the phony pretense of open negotiations, the Treasury Board Minister has hijacked collective bargaining to impose a settlement. The reality is he came to dictate, not negotiate. Why won't the Conservatives respect collective bargaining and stop treating our public servants with such disdain?
The Honourable Prime Secretary and the President of the Treasury Board.
Action Plan 2015 reaffirms the government's commitment to pursuing a new disability and sick leave management system. Now, we continue to negotiate with the public service, and our objectives are clear. We will not pay sick leave to people who are not sick. The government's continued overarching goals in these negotiations is to reach agreements on total public service compensation that are fair and reasonable to both the employees and to taxpayers. These changes do not impose a legislative regime, Mr. Speaker.
Good to meet you.
Honourable member for Quebec. Mr. Speaker, it was in the budget, but Quebec City is still waiting to see whether Tall Ships 2017 is going to receive the funds it needs to take place. The mayor of Quebec City is losing patience. An agreement was supposed to be signed before February. It was postponed to April, and now we've learned that it's been pushed back again. This is a complete improvisation, Mr. Speaker, and all of this because the government still has not decided on how much we'll contribute. Mr. Speaker, we're at the last minute. Will this government finally pick up the phone and contact the organizers so that we can move forward? Thank you. The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as I have said many times, and what the member is not listening to, is that we have been in discussions for a long time now. We are moving forward with this file. Canada 150 is going to be a celebration for everyone, including the people of Quebec, so they must be patient. They need to understand that Naval Rendezvous is very happy, and they even were mentioned in the budget, and they're ready to move forward.
Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, Canadian families know that our Conservative Party is the only party that trusts mums and dads to make the best decision for their families. That's right. That's why we're introducing the family cut and the universal child care benefit, which will save the average Canadian family nearly $1,200. Mr. Speaker, can the Minister please update this House on the benefits that families in my riding and all across Canada will receive under these programs?
Thank you, Sir. Employment.
Every family will benefit from the family tax cut benefits, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals are really scrambling today after it being revealed that they are billions of dollars in uncosted expending in their plan. They've actually changed the bar graph in that plan only 1 week after introducing it, Mr. Speaker. Even after they get rid of the universal child care benefit, the child tax benefit, the tax-free savings account, and income splitting, they're still billions of dollars short. Perhaps that's why the Liberal leader said today, and I quote, "Benefiting every single family isn't what's fair." Mr. Speaker, he's absolutely wrong. Our government will benefit every single family because that is what's fair.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Michel.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians plan for their retirements based on what they are promised through their pension plans. Any changes after the fact of pension benefits can cause retirees financial hardship through no fault of their own, as we have seen in many cases, including that of Nortel pensioners. Since the government is transitioning away from defined benefit pensions for federally regulated workers, federal private sector workers, and Crown Corporation employees, will the government commit to exempting current employees from such a change?
The Honourable Minister of State for Finance.
Mr. Speaker, it's clear that retirees and all Canadians are benefiting from our low tax plan. I would note that according to a retirement study by McKinsey and Company, 83% of Canadians are on track for a comfortable retirement. And that's why we want to enhance their retirement savings. We've lowered taxes. We've brought forward new incentives for Canadians to save for retirement. Those incentives include the family tax cut plan, pension income splitting, tax-free savings accounts. Mr. Speaker, we know that the opposition would take these away. We know that the opposition believes in a high tax plan for seniors and for all Canadians. Mr. Speaker, Canadians know they're better off.
The Honourable Member for Montcalm. Mr. Speaker, with tax policies like income splitting, which will only benefit the wealthy few, the government is showing how disconnected it is for most Canadian families. The tax measures it is proposing show that this government does not treat citizens equally. Yes, sound management is important, so will the government use budget measures to review its commitments and enhance them for Canadian families and seniors? The Honourable Minister of Employment. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the honourable member for her question with regard to seniors. Obviously, we want to help them by reducing their taxes, by putting in place income splitting for seniors. That will help them save money. Tax-free savings accounts will allow seniors to save without having to pay taxes on interest. And obviously, Mr. Speaker, 60% of people who max out on their TFSA earn less than $60,000 per year.
Concludes the question period for today. I understand the honourable member for Sackville Eastern Shore has a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, the Minister of Veterans Affairs misled Canadians in the House, so I'd like to ask unanimous consent for the following motion, which coincidentally is currently on the order paper standing in the name of the Minister of Veterans Affairs. That Bill C-58, an act to amend the Canadian Forces Members and Veterans Re-establish and Compensation Act and to make consequential amendments to another act, now be read a second time and referred to the Standing Committee of Veterans Affairs.
Does the honourable member have unanimous consent to move this motion? No. There's no consent. Orders of the day, ordre du jour.
Government orders, government bills, Senate. Debate at report stage and second reading of Bill S-4, an act to amend the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act.
There are 5 motions and amendments standing on the notice paper for the report stage of Bill S-4. Motions numbered 1 to 5 will be grouped for debate and voted upon according to the voting pattern available at the table. Je vais maintenant soumettre les motions.
I shall now propose motions numbered 1 to 5 to the House. Motion number 1, Madame Borg, seconded by Ms. Liu, moves that Bill S-4 be amended.
May, seconded by Mr. Plamondon, moves that Bill S-4 be amended by deleting Clause 1. Motion number 3, Ms. May, seconded by Mr. Plamondon, moves that Bill S-4 be amended by deleting Clause 6. Motion numéro 4, Madame.
Motion number 4, Ms. Borg, seconded by Madame Liu, moves that Bill S-4 be amended by deleting Section 7.
Number 5, Ms. May, seconded by Mr. Plamondon, moves that Bill S-4 be amended by deleting Clause 10. Debate. L'honorable député de Terrebonne-Blainville.
Honourable member for Terrebonne-Blainville. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have to say, unfortunately, that we will be opposing Bill S-4 for the reasons that I will mention during my speech. But what I find most disappointing is that we all voted to